The Broncos are the favorites to land star wide receiver Tee Higgins. This is your Denver Sports Daily for February 13th.
The biggest stories, the latest news. It's Denver Sports Daily.
Vegas released their next team odds for the free agent Tee Higgins, and the Broncos are at the top of that list. However, this list fails to include a very important factor. Higgins could stay with the Bengals this offseason if Cincinnati chooses to franchise tag him again. They franchise tagged him last offseason, but they do reserve the right to do that one more time. Now, a franchise tag would cost the Bengals around $26 million, but for a player like T, they may do it. Now, if they decide not to keep him, the Broncos would be a great suitor. He would take over that wide receiver one spot, pushing Courtland Sutton back to the two where he played for a while under Jerry Jeudy. Now, Higgins played in 12 games this past season, recording 73 receptions for 911 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, he would be expensive. That's the one problem for the Broncos if they were to go looking for him. He would most likely cost around $30 million a year. But with the Broncos having their main position set, unloading the Brinks truck for a star like this, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, the way I'm thinking about it is that imagine an offseason where the Broncos get Tee Higgins and Ashton Genty. That would be incredible. And obviously, I'm going off of yesterday where Field Yates of ESPN had the Broncos taking Ashton Genty with the 30th or the 20th pick in the draft. But still, that's crazy to look at. And then you got to think, would that be better than if the Broncos go after a tight end in free agency? Or could they get a tight end that's solid in the second round of the draft? There's a lot of different pieces you got to look at here, because if they do spend a lot of money on Tee Higgins, they're not going to have much to build around, especially on their defense. They're not going to be able to pick up good pieces with less money. That's basic math there. If Tee Higgins is costing that much money, they're going to have a lot less to play with for the rest of free agency. But it would definitely be a huge pickup. I mean, Tee Higgins is incredible. On any other team, he would be the wide receiver one, but he is behind Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is always in the conversation for one of the best receivers in the league. But Tee Higgins is right there with them. Best wide receiver two currently. There's nobody else in the league. You can make a case for Devontae Smith. You can make a case for Jalen Waddle, maybe. But other than that, Tee Higgins is there. He is a great receiver. And if a piece like him was on the Broncos, they would play incredibly next season. They would. Tee Higgins and Ashton Genty, if you imagine those two coming in for the Broncos next season, this team is a 12-win team. I promise a 12-win team. But that's definitely a lot to talk about. Obviously, it's early. Free agency hasn't even really started yet. But definitely something to keep your eye on with Tee Higgins being the favorite to go to the Broncos. Now, moving on, Julian Strawther is headed to the All-Star game. A couple weeks ago, I talked about how Nikola Jokic was headed to the All-Star games alone once again, but now this isn't entirely true. The NBA announced yesterday that Julian Strawther would be filling in for Scoot Henderson on the Rising Stars team after Henderson suffered an injury on Monday. Now, Strawther is the first Nuggets Rising Star since Bones Highland. He was on the team in 2023. And with this new kind of format that they're doing with the All-Star game, Strawther could be facing Nikola Jokic in the All-Star final. Because of how they're doing things, the All-Star Rising Stars, they're going to have their own tournament. Julian Strawther is on Team M, and the winner of that tournament is then placed into the All-Star tournament, where it's going to be 3 teams who are comprised of different All-Stars who earned the starting spot and then were set as reserves. Those 3 teams versus the one Rising Stars team and then the one championship after that tournament. It's kind of confusing, but it's all, moving. They're trying to change it up. They're trying to make the All-Star game fun again, and I get that. But Julian Strawther, he's having a great season off the bench. He's the only Nugget to play in all 55 games of the season while averaging 9.6 points, 2.3 rebounds, and 1.3 assists per game while shooting 43% from the field and 36% from three. He's really filling that role of Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson left last season, and it was kind of scary, not having a guy like that who could come in as a point guard, shooting guard, and light it up from 3 off the bench. That was important, and he has proven, Julian Strawther has proven that he can fill that void. Now, the All-Star games will begin this Friday with the celebrity game, and the All-Star tournament will be held on Sunday. So that's obviously going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to be watching. I do want to see how this new format looks for the All-Star games, because it's very different than what people have seen before, and it's trying to, remake the All-Star games, because for the past several years, they have not been fun to watch, really. Now, moving on, the Nuggets dominated the Trailblazers on the back of Jamal Murray's incredible performance. Jamal Murray is back. He dropped a career-high 55 points in the 132 to 121 win. That's the third highest scoring performance by a Nugget in history. 55 points. That's crazy. He shot 20 for 36 and had only 9 free throw attempts, making 8 of them. And when you put that in perspective, some of the best scorers in the league, you look at number 1 right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. In the past 3 games, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shot 50 free throws. Past 3 games, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 40 free throws. That's crazy. Jamal Murray's going out there and putting up 50 points and not only having 9 free throws. This is the same Jamal Murray that had 50 points in a playoff game in the bubble and had 0 free throw attempts. Jamal Murray scoring incredibly. He picked up the load after MPJ and Aaron Gordon were ruled out for the game. And don't get it twisted, it wasn't all him. Nikola Jokic played incredibly as well, adding to Murray's point total with 26 of his own and adding 15 rebounds and 10 assists, recording his 25th triple-double of the season. Just crazy stats. 81 points combined from those 2 players. That's the kind of stuff you want to see with Jamal and Jokic on this team. They were unbeatable for so long, and now they're getting in that groove. Now, the Nuggets starters, Jamal Murray, Christian Braun, Julian Strawther, Zeke Naji, and Nikola Jokic, those are the starters last night. They combined for 129 points. That's the most for the Nuggets since at least 1967. And I know at least sounds weird, but that's a stat they had up there. So before that, it could have been different, it was Denver Rockets and that kind of stuff. But they combined for 129 points. That's starting unit. Now, sure, the bench obviously didn't play very well. Not that they didn't play very well, but they just weren't playing as much. A team like the Blazers, you want to play the young guys, and the young guys were starting last night. You got Julian Strawther, Zeke Naji. Obviously, Christian Braun has taken a huge jump in his role. He's my favorite for MIP. Just incredible dominance from them. Now, after this, the Nuggets have won their 8th in a row. They're 36-19 and still 3rd in the West behind the Memphis Grizzlies. But again, that gap is getting closer, and they're really starting to creep up on that. Now, moving on, as if things couldn't get any worse for the Rockies, they lost one of their best starting pitchers yesterday. Cal Quantrill led the Rockies in wins last season, and now he is heading to the Miami Marlins. Quantrill had a record of 8-11 with 29 starts and recorded a 4.98 ERA last season. Now, last season, the Rockies lost 101 games, and it doesn't look like they're going to improve anymore, especially after this offseason. You're losing one of your best pitchers, obviously Charlie Blackmon retiring. It's just not looking up for the Rockies. There's nothing good going on in that locker room. They can't be looking upwards at the season and saying, you know what, let's make a run. Let's do something. It's just really unfortunate to see a team like this. You know what the worst part about it is that every single game is still going to be borderline sold out. The people want to go see those games, and they're just going to keep losing. It's really unfortunate, and losing players like this just adds to the heartbreak as a Rockies fan. It really does. That's going to do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I do want to read some of your guys' comments. I personally don't think that the Broncos can afford Tee Higgins and put pieces in place on the defense. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. So you're on the opposite side of it. I think that if the Broncos can go out there and get Tee Higgins, don't worry about the defense as much. The defense was incredible. The defense is still going to be performing at a high level next season. But getting somebody like Tee Higgins on the offense, can you imagine Bo Nix with a receiver who can make his own plays and his route running that Tee Higgins has? It would be overall a good pickup for the Broncos. So that's where my head's at on that. But I definitely see where you're coming from. Let's see. Fitzmorning, Joey. Higgins would be nice, but too spendy and he can't stay healthy. Go to draft for a wide receiver. Yeah, okay. That's a different idea there. Again, yeah, I can see that. Tee Higgins can't stay healthy. He's had his injuries in the past. But again, the expenses come in. He will be expensive. And if you're against that, I understand it. But at a point like this, after the last Broncos season, this is the time to go out and spend on those skill positions. You got your QB. You got your cornerback, you got your left tackle. Go out there and spend on some skill positions that can, make some plays. I'm all for it. I want to see Tee Higgins in a different shade of orange this next season. I think it'd be great, but I can definitely see where you are coming from. But that's going to do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I will be back with you guys again on Wednesday for the next 2 days. That's going to be Friday, tomorrow, and Tuesday. Richie Carney is going to be filling in. I'm going to be out in New York. My brother's performing on Broadway, so I'm going to be out there. But I'll definitely be checking in and watching the shows. I'll be in the comments. I want to see what you guys are all saying. If you have anything you want to tweet me about, shoot me a tweet, anything like that. I'd love to read them. But until then, y'all have a great rest of your day and a great upcoming weekend. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye, y'all.